King Ghidorah has appeared in numerous forms, with even more versions of powers. In this video, we will explore the origin and history of fatal powers of every King Ghidorah variant that exists in the Godzilla franchise. King Ghidorah is among the most recurrent nemesis of Godzilla, who puts up a great fight against him, giving a hard time to the king of the monsters. Buckle up, because this exploration is going to be a rampaging journey of extreme destruction and incredible battles. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Showa King Ghidorah. A beautiful meteor shower was seen from Earth, and one of the meteors ended up crashing in the Kurobe Valley of Japan. Scientists claim the specimen for examining its strange glow and magnetic properties. Over days, the meteor grew in size and eventually broke open. Then a ball of fire flew from within. The fireball kept blasting until it took the shape of a monster we now know as King Ghidorah. Soon, it is found that King Ghidorah came from Venus after he had reduced the planet into a wasteland. Our three-headed king sports massive wings for flight, reaching the speed of Mach 3 on Earth and Mach 400 in vacuum. Flapping these wings can also generate hurricane-level winds, which even kaijus can't withstand. As observed in the meteor, the monster also possesses magnetic or gravitational powers. He can generate magnetic fields of varying intensity and shoot zero-gravity beams that almost reach the level of Godzilla's atomic breath in terms of strength. Ghidorah rather stomps on enemies and snaps their necks with his powerful jaws. His Godzilla-level attacks and resistance to attacks truly make him a fearsome enemy. Continuing from his origin, Ghidorah damaged the city with his gravity beams and headed towards Mount Fuji, where he was met with Mothra, whom he blasted with his beam. Ghidorah's action angered Godzilla and his fellow Rodan, who then entered the battle to assist Mothra against Ghidorah. Soon the three monsters beat him into submission, and Ghidorah was forced to fly back into outer space. Ghidorah then ended up on Planet X, where he terrorized the Exilians' alien race as Monster Zero. Exilians borrowed Godzilla and Rodan from Earthlings for their protection. The three monsters fell into the sea while jostling. Soon, only Ghidorah flew out of the water and escaped into space again. He was captured by Keylok aliens who used him to protect their Earth base from Godzilla. In this battle, Ghidorah met his death. Besides, Ghidorah was also controlled by the Nebulans in their Earth invasion, and by the Garogas to destroy a machine, and he was seen in a battle with Zone Fighter on Venus. Heisei King Ghidorah. A group of terrorists named the Futurians planned to halt Japan's growth into a global superpower by destroying it in the past. The Futurians time-traveled from 2204 to 1944, nearly 2 centuries back, and left 3 genetically engineered kaijus named Dorats. A decade later, the Dorats were exposed to a hydrogen bomb testing, and they ended up mutating and merging into King Ghidorah. In 1992, King Ghidorah was captivated by the Futurians to destroy Japan. Like his Showa variant, this King Ghidorah can also fly, but at a greater speed of Mach 4, and produce the hurricane intensity winds. Additionally, his wings can cause shockwaves that crumble buildings or even act as a powerful shield that can block Godzilla's atomic breath. Heisei King Ghidorah also possesses the signature yellow gravity beam of Showa King Ghidorah. A new fight tactic he uses is the strangling move achieved by constricting his neck around the enemy. He can withstand point-blank atomic breath attacks and survived even when his middle head was chopped off. In 1992, the Futurians terrorized Earthlings in the name of Godzilla's return, who had been dormant since his fight with Biollante in 1989. The government permits the Futurians to travel back in time and prevent this probable catastrophe. The mission succeeds, but King Ghidorah emerges in Godzilla's stead. The Futurians demanded the Japanese government to surrender their powers, but the latter sent a submarine to bring Godzilla back. In the following battle, Ghidorah was severely wounded by Godzilla, and he eventually fell into the sea in defeat. His destroyed body was later recovered in 2204 and reconstructed into Mecha-King Ghidorah, about whom we have a separate section in this video, so keep watching. The rebirth of Mothra Ghidorah. This variant of King Ghidorah appeared in the 1998 film Rebirth of Mothra 3. He is known as Grand Ghidorah or Super Dragon King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah had existed in space for quite a long time and walked on Earth for the first time in the Cretaceous period along dinosaurs. Young King Ghidorah fed on the Cretaceous creatures and wiped out almost their entirety. In the modern era, he was again seen on Earth in a much more powerful and mature form, with the intention of devouring humans' children to consume life force. This Ghidorah can even fly with only one wing using his zero-gravity field, showcasing his ability to alter gravitational effects on objects. He can also condense his gravity beams into a single supercharged blast called the Gravity Beam Triple Tornado. He also emits a golden glow on unleashing this power. Moreover, his wings can change 6 anti-gravity beams altogether, and he can shoot a hypnosis beam from his eyes and control his enemies, although the mind control is pretty weak in strength. He can also spit out fireballs, but this power was only seen in his younger Cretaceous form. And of course, he has the signature Hurricane Winds attack. One cool ability was that he regenerated his whole body from his severed tail. He can also ward off light-related projectiles with his scales or create a dome into which objects can be teleported, and in case they try to leave, they suffer severe damage. Ghidorah had left Cretaceous Earth after he had devoured enough life force from dinosaurs, but when he returned to Earth after 100 million years to devour humans, humanity sought the help of Rainbow Mothra. Despite dedicated efforts, Rainbow Mothra was defeated, and it was finalized that Ghidorah must be defeated in his younger Cretaceous form to save modern humanity. Younger Ghidorah was also a formidable foe and gravely wounded Mothra, but the latter dropped him in a volcano as a finale. But Ghidorah's severed tail lay intact, from which he regenerated and reappeared in the modern era. Ghidorah and Mothra were once again in battle, but Mothra gained a sure win by crystallizing and exploding Ghidorah. GMK King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah originally had 8 heads and was known as the Yamata no Orochi. This ancient dragon was slain by Japanese warriors and buried in Mount Fuji. The warriors prayed and hoped for the return of the guardian monsters, including Mothra and Baragon, to safeguard Japan from adversity. King Ghidorah's body surged with power by the souls of Japan's honorable dead. His body kept regenerating for years and years, but he was awakened before he could fully recover his body with the 8 heads. Hence, King Ghidorah, the 3-headed dragon, emerged. We see him in the Millennium era. Like every other variant, he also has gravity beams and the ability to fly. This variant can surge electricity into his enemies with a single bite. He can also form a spherical energy shield which can ward off atomic breath or be shot to cause explosions on collision. He also attempted a flying kick, but the attack went against his favor. Another unique ability was the aggregation of his spirit after he had died, which garnered enough energy to sink Godzilla into the sea. Ghidorah had been sleeping and regenerating his body in Mount Fuji for thousands of years. By 2002, he had successfully regenerated 3 of his heads and was still gradually regenerating other heads, but his dormant body lying underground was discovered by humans. A prophet was attempting to revive the guardian monsters to defend them from Godzilla. The prophet surged the souls of the dead into Ghidorah's body and awakened him, ceasing his regeneration. He met Mothra, one of the guardian monsters, and battled with Godzilla. In the fight, Godzilla vaporized Mothra with his breath, and the latter's energy flew into Ghidorah. He transformed into the 1,000-years-old dragon King Ghidorah, who could shield Godzilla's breath, but Godzilla dragged him into water. Ghidorah flew out, but Godzilla killed him with a powerful shot. Ghidorah's, Mothra's, and Baragon's, the 3rd guardian monster's, souls flew into Godzilla and sank him in the sea. Dorat. As explained earlier in Heisei King Ghidorah, a group of terrorists named the Futurians from the 23rd century intended to bring down Japan's progress and prevent it from becoming a global superpower. On the surface of Venus, they had found the carcass of King Ghidorah. They took genetic material from the carcass and engineered it to create the perfect pets for their civilization. These pets were named as Dorats. Dorats are considered to be the basic form of Ghidorah. They can fly and shoot lightning bolt beams. Since they were engineered to be pets, they can be controlled using a special whistle engineered by Emi Kano, one of the Futurians. They also have microwave impulses to sense danger. They can also independently time travel, but their visit lasts for 3 minutes only, after which they are forcefully sent back. They have psychokinetic abilities to levitate objects, and they can combine themselves into King Ghidorah. When the Futurians traveled back in time to execute their master plan, they took the Dorats also. They went to Lagos Island, where the Futurians expected the Godzillasaurus to mutate into Godzilla due to the hydrogen bomb tests. The Futurians transported the Godzillasaurus to the Bering Sea, but the Dorats were left behind. Eventually, the Dorats were exposed to hydrogen bomb tests, and they mutated and merged to take the form of King Ghidorah. In the Reiwa era, 3 Dorat brothers were seen who could time travel or fuse into King Ghidorah on free will. They were fond of eating kaiju eggs, which put them into trouble with Manila, an infant Godzilla kaiju who was guarding a Rodan egg. Dorats had traveled back in time for the Rodan egg. They defeated Manila, but their time was up by then, and they were sent back without getting to eat the Rodan egg. Mecha-Ghidorah. Mecha-Ghidorah has several origin stories. The first one is related to the destroyed body of Heisei Ghidorah, which was recovered in 2204 and reconstructed with cybernetics, giving him a mechanical head, wing, metal chest, and metal hand. He was now the Mecha-King Ghidorah, controlled by Emi, a Futurian who rebelled against her crew. He was taken back to 1992 to fight the rampaging Godzilla. Secondly, he was weaponized by the Cryog aliens, who had discovered King Ghidorah in a coma. His body was lacking wings, and Gigan was ordered to sever his middle head. These damaged parts were then replaced with cybernetics. Third, he was constructed by a certain Dr. Eli Talbert after Ghidorah had suffered fatal wounds in a nuclear explosion. Lastly, he is said to have come from a future where he was defeated by Earth Monster and then mechanized by the Global Defense Force. He can surge energy with his bite and shoot 2 different beams. His organic heads shoot the gravity beams, while the mechanized head fires a triple laser beam. He can fly with the anti-gravity device in his armor, even when his wings are damaged. His armor also has 4 electrifying cables and a mechanized hand to restrain enemies, and a time machine. In the games, he has electrical tasers and the ability to teleport and generate energy shield. After Ghidorah was revived as an anti-Godzilla weapon, he appeared in Tokyo where Godzilla was rampaging. Mecha-King Ghidorah was being piloted by Emi, who shot the capture cables after much jostling. Ghidorah lifted Godzilla over the sea, but the latter shot his atomic breath, damaging the cyborg to 0 functionality, and both crashed into the ocean. Monster X, Kaiser Ghidorah. Kaiser Ghidorah is a form of Monster X, but their origin is covered in mist. Monster X is described to be both of this world and not of this world, and is probably of the same species as King Ghidorah. He was first seen when summoned by the Exilians from a meteorite called Gorath, but the true origin is still unknown since it is unclear whether the Exilians chanced upon this monster or actually constructed it themselves. Monster X can transform himself into a more powerful form known as the Kaiser Ghidorah and can transform back into Monster X. He can levitate for short spans, but the Kaiser version can fly in a true sense. Kaiser Ghidorah can also transfer the enemy's energy by biting into them. His neck glows while using this ability. Monster X can also shoot the yellow gravity beams, but from his eyes, whereas his Kaiser form shoots the anti-gravity beams from all 3 of his mouths. He can also manipulate objects with these beams. Apparently, he can also deflect beams by erecting a Berries. as described in the games. He is also agile with his rapid melee attacks and can withstand Godzilla's atomic breath in close proximity. After the controller of Planet X had summoned Monster X with the Gorath meteorite, Godzilla destroyed it with his atomic breath. Then Monster X descended behind him and attacked. The fight concluded in a stalemate with their equivalent powers. Gigan arrived to assist Monster X while Mothra flew to guard Godzilla. The fight restarted, and both the monsters were locked in a fight of the beams. Both were blown back. Thereafter, Monster X transformed into Kaiser Ghidorah and re-engaged in a beam lock. Godzilla was overpowered and repeatedly attacked by Kaiser, but Godzilla regained power and blasted his center head, threw him into the air, and exploded him with his red spiral ray. Anime King Ghidorah. Anime King Ghidorah emerged from a separate dimension as an energy-based life form. He is said to have emerged from an evolutionary stage which discarded physical body and existed as pure energy. 100,000 years ago, he destroyed the home planet of the Exif aliens, who worshipped him as Golden King, and the destruction was regarded as a divine punishment upon them. Being an energy-based life form owes him the ability to travel between dimensions and alter the space-time relation. He is an intangible being, hence, all physical and energy attacks tend to pass through him without serving any damage. He can manipulate gravity to a super extent that can even eat up planets. He also had electric abilities and can discharge electricity with his bite or emit electric bolts from his neck. He also possesses a technology called the Gematron calculation, with which he communicates with the Exif aliens. Metphys, an Exif alien, had garnered a significant following that turned into a cult with the aim of summoning a god to destroy Godzilla on Earth. The cult gained traction, and Metphys began the summoning ritual, and the sacred god was revealed as King Ghidorah, who emerged from a portal and caused havoc. 3 black vortexes opened in the sky, and Godzilla was awakened by the disturbances. Ghidorah lunged towards Godzilla. The latter tried to attack him, but it slipped through him. Metphys was watching everything from a hill and intended to offer himself to Ghidorah. Ghidorah was completely unaffected by all of Godzilla's attacks. Metphys was behind this invincibility, and he was taken down by Haruo, after which Godzilla could physically attack King Ghidorah and eventually won the fight. Monsterverse King Ghidorah Monster Zero. King Ghidorah was discovered lying dormant in an Atlantic glacier by a scientific facility called Monarch. He was then freed by eco-terrorists named Emma Russell and Alan Jonah to renew the world's atmosphere, unaware that he was an alien. Ghidorah then rampaged on Earth and awakened other kaiju, causing worldwide destruction. He was later taken down by Godzilla, and his skull was equipped with cybernetics to be used as a control system for Mecha-Godzilla. His loud roar works as an alpha call to summon other kaiju. His body also conducts bioelectrical currents, which can draw lightning from storms. He can also drain energy with bites, use the gravity beams, generate hurricane winds or storms, regenerate his body, and fly. He also uses his neck in close combat. His forked tongue has an incredible sense of smell that alerted him about Godzilla's arrival. Even after death, his skull retained the telepathic powers. After his arrival, Ghidorah rampaged on Earth with his fellow kaijus whom he had summoned. He flies over countries and lands on Rodan's volcano, where all the summoned kaiju accept him as the Alpha. All the monsters except Godzilla destroy major cities upon his command. The two finally meet, and the battle sways in Godzilla's favor, who manages to sever his head and finally kill him with atomic breath. Later, his skull was recovered and used to telepathically control the Mecha-Godzilla, but his consciousness disrupted the machinery and took over Mecha-Godzilla, garnering lethal impulses. However, the skull was destroyed when the Apex Cybernetics facility underwent a power surge, and the Mecha-Godzilla was soon destroyed by the original Godzilla. Marvelous verdict. No matter which variant we talk about, each one is extremely lethal, especially with their signature attacks of gravity beams and hurricane winds combined with their individual abilities. Each variant emerged from their own unique background, but retains the lethal temperament evident in their mass destruction. We have discussed 10 Ghidorah variants today, and we would love to know your favorite in the comments section. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.